Welcome back into another edition of College Golf Talk. Steve Burkowski, Brentley Romine with you. September 20th. Crazy to think that September's here. I think it is the autumnal equinox, Brentley, which means it's the official start of fall.
Wait, already?
It's always around the 20th or 21st.
Not in Florida. Florida is at least like November 20th.
Yeah, don't confuse it with the summer or winter solstice, but I believe it is the autumnal equinox. So happy fall to you.
Yeah, no, I got my teeth cleaned for this episode, Burko. Went to the dentist. I used to love going to the dentist. Had my first bad experience. I got a dental hygienist, nice lady, but it's almost like she was in a rush. She kept popping from one tooth on one side to the other with that little tool. She kept whacking my teeth with the little circular mirror tool. And it was just like, and maybe this is just my fault, but every other minute she's saying, you got to floss more. They make a water pick that you can use in the shower. You got to do this. I'm like, I understand. I think that might've been the play because she annoyed me enough to where I might start flossing better.
Any cavities?
No. See, that's why I don't floss, because I've always been told my teeth are great. I mean, I got them knocked out playing baseball back in the day, so they're a little discolored, but they're healthy.
All right, that's good news. And I'm gonna double down. Flossing's important. Get the job done. We don't want any long-term issues for you. We got a lot to talk about. We will stop talking about dental hygiene, and we'll bring in our first guest of the fall season of College Golf Talk, Christo Lamprecht, the senior from Georgia Tech, kind enough to spend some time with us on the show. Always good to catch up, my friend. A lot to get into, and I want to sort of start at the beginning, if you will. A 6'8" young man from South Africa. How in the world do you end up playing golf at Georgia Tech?
Well, yeah, first of all, thanks for having me out here, guys. I appreciate being on and talking to you guys today. But yeah, no, it's I guess I just started playing sport when I was a young age, and I wasn't 6'8" when I was 5 years old. So I guess I was pretty normal back then, and pretty much just fell in love with golf from a young age. And I guess growing in high school kind of had its challenges, but it's always felt normal to me. I guess it might look different for a lot of people, but it's always felt normal to me. So, yeah, I've just fell in love with the game and keep on playing it every year.
I try to always think of a pipeline of international countries to a certain school, and I can't recall, and I'm sure there has been under Bruce Hepler or Puggy Blackman, but South Africa and Georgia Tech, I'm not quite seeing the immediate connection. How did you end up in downtown Atlanta to play for the Yellow Jackets?
Yeah, I'm actually Coach Hip's second South African that he's ever coached. I think Kyle Scott was a long time ago was his first. But yeah, so no, I kind of always wanted to go play college golf. That was kind of my goal. And came on a couple of visits, came to Tech. Yeah, I just fell in love with the program here at Tech, and I guess Coach he spent 4 years, 4 years time in South Africa after he graduated college, on a mission. So he kind of knows where I'm from, speaks a little bit of my home language somehow still. So a lot of that kind of drew me to Tech, and obviously he's about as famous as it gets about college golf coaches. So I love playing for him and love my time here at Tech so far.
Christo, you had a pretty sensational summer. Let's start with the first highlight. British Amateur Champion. What still stands out to you about that week that allowed you to ultimately get the job done?
Just ball striking. I mean, it's always nice hitting it far and further than most guys. Obviously, being 6'8", I guess I have a little longer levers, but inconsistency has always been kind of my backbone and my kind of hard thing that I've worked with the speed I have. So that week, I just really hit the golf ball really good, and it helped a lot. And I think I feel very natural and comfortable on links golf courses. I love the creativity it kind of enforces, and that's kind of how I grew up playing golf, and I love playing like that. So I just felt comfortable, and I was really hitting it good. So it kind of had a good combo to it.
So take us through maybe more detail on how you control the speed that you have. What makes being 6'8" and swinging it like you do difficult, and what are some things you keep in mind when you're actually playing a tournament to make sure that you don't hit it, 3 states over?
3 states over. That's a good one. No, I think the biggest thing for me, obviously, getting equipment fitted correct way for my body. Ping's been great the last 3-4 years, even in high school still. That helped me out a bunch, and a lot of club changes and kind of figuring out a formula to what works for me and what works for my tendencies and what are my misses, and let's build something that kind of helps that misses. So it's been a great relationship with them, and I'm really privileged to be part of that, and they've helped me a lot. So yeah, in terms of that, golf club wise, that's been really big. And then yeah, just keep on working on technique and kind of figuring out that certain things that I do in a golf swing is normal, and it's not going to look normal to anyone else. And kind of just owning my golf game and trying to figure out how to consistently get in certain positions the best way possible. So yeah, I've been on my own little journey with my body type in golf, but it's been a fun one. I've learned a lot so far.
After the win at the Amateur Championship, and we got to tidy Brentley up. We don't call it the British Amateur. It's the Amateur, and it's the Open. We'll get him on the right page soon enough.
There we go.
You kept it going at the Open. The story of day one on that Thursday, what was the experience like for you playing in that major championship and making a lot of noise throughout the course of the week?
Yeah, it was a pretty surreal moment, obviously leading after the first round. But I mean, playing in any major as an amateur is an achievement in itself. So I was really happy to be there, and it's kind of something I really wanted to check off and kind of in my amateur career have some professional kind of, I guess, experience under the belt before I turned pro. I really just felt like that's the next step I need to take and I kind of prove to myself that I'm good enough to be there. So yeah, it was a great experience. I learned so much, and obviously being on the headlines after the first round was pretty special too.
Speaking about a learning experience, let's go back to late May at Greyhawk, a chance to win a national championship, not only for you, the program, Bruce Hepler. What did you take away from getting so close and hoping with a new venue next season that might serve you and the team perhaps just a little bit better to get through that finish line?
Yeah, it was a tough pill to swallow last May. I think we kind of started writing a fairy tale story. We won ACCs, we won conference, and then kind of played really good at regionals and kind of had a lot of form going into nationals, and we nearly got it done. But I think one thing that it's hard to understand. It's winning is hard. Winning doesn't come easy. You need some little luck sometimes. You need a lot of good golf. I didn't have that. I didn't have any good golf in the match play, to be fair. I lost all 3 of my matches. The team kind of carried me through it. So yeah, you just need all 5 guys to really perform when it comes down to that. But I think just naturally, I didn't like the golf course. It wasn't suited up for me at all. It just didn't play to my strength. And that not saying that I can't play good golf on a golf course like that. I didn't feel comfortable out there. So hopefully with the new golf course set up in San Diego, hopefully that'll change. But no, I think we've got a great team this year too. And coach knows what he's doing. He knows how to win, and he's done it for 27 years. So hopefully we can get a national trophy for him because he really deserves one.
Yeah, Burko, best quote I think we heard last year at Greyhawk was Bruce Hepler saying that Christo feels like he's in a cage, playing this golf course, and it definitely, when he hit it that long, I definitely, understand why he said that. Christo, let's fast forward past the Open Championship. You're the low am. Everyone's expecting you to arrive at Cherry Hills for the U.S. Amateur. You're not in the field. Can you just explain, why you weren't there and how you're doing now?
Yeah, I think partially, obviously, winning the amateur and getting into 3 major spots was kind of a big thing for me. And obviously, there's 2 events that you can do that with the British Am and the U.S. Amateur Champion. So I felt like partially that was kind of I achieved my goal in doing so. And then I've had an IOP that I've needed to take care of for about a year and a half. That's been kind of on the cusp of getting it done. So I felt it was the perfect timing to do so. Time home with family and friends, and just enjoying it a little off time. I think after the British Am, I played 7 events in 8 weeks, and I was kind of tired too. And the Open was such a cool experience, but it was really tiring too. And it's kind of opened my eyes to what pro life really is. So I guess I just was a little bit exhausted, and it was a perfect time for me to get that done and get it out of the way. I think your personal health and well-being is at the forefront of any career of anyone, to be fair. So yeah, it was just something I needed to get done, and I wasn't going to push my recovery based on playing in the USM or not. I thought it was a good time just to take a break and get ready for college golf again.
So I saw one of the craziest looking videos on your Instagram just a little bit ago. So you go home, you're hanging out with friends and family. You also might be the largest man that I've ever seen ride a four-wheeler, doing little donuts and things like that. Just kind of talk us through what are some things you like to do when you go home, because I'm sure it's not like it's nothing like here in the States.
It's a little bit kind of more of a country feeling, I guess. I live right down south in South Africa, small city called George. It's right on the coast, so it's kind of a little bit of a San Diego feeling. I mean, I went to beach pretty much every day after high school before practices. I went to the beach, swam at the beach with my friends, then went to practice. And but like also saying that farm where you saw me on the four-wheeler with, that's about an hour and a half north of my house, and it's where my brother-in-law and sister live. He's a farmer out there. So yeah, I love going up there and kind of just spending time in nature and just farming with him and spending some time alone and kind of just off the radar of the planet Earth. No cell service or anything. So yeah, it's really just nice. I like to switch off like that. I love what I'm doing here at Tech in Atlanta and traveling and everything, but I also kind of like going back home and just enjoying the simple peace time sometimes.
What do you farm? Or what does your brother farm?
So he does mostly sheeple producing. So he has a lot of sheep out there and kind of just sheds them probably twice a year and just sells the wool. And obviously we have a lot of wildlife and a lot of hunting on the farm too. So,
And then, obviously people talk about the fact that you're 6'8". Is that the official height? Because I see 6'9" every now and then. Sometimes you get bumped up to 6'10" when riders are feeling.
Yeah, no, it's pretty funny. But I think it's like 6'8", but yeah, 6'8". I prefer to be 6'8". So
yeah,
I'm gonna cut it there.
What's the most difficult part about being that tall, and then what is the best part about being that tall?
Well, the best part, I think it's pretty obvious, is the fact that I can get some extra ball speed and get some extra distance, and I guess ruin some golf courses off the tee sometimes, and it's really helpful. I think with that saying that, I think the bad part about it is managing my body with doing something that it's not wanting to do. I think because you're so tall, you crumble, not crumble easily, but it's theoretically you got a longer leverage system that can hurt easily. So I guess the hard part about it is having injuries before over the years and kind of maintaining that in the weight room a lot more and being very, putting a lot of emphasis on that and not getting injured and maintaining my body. And I guess the inconsistency with what the speed comes with is the downside. So it's not all rainbows and sunshine, but it's a lot of hard work behind the scenes to make sure that the advantage I get from being 6'8" doesn't I guess be my Achilles heel too.
What issues, if any, have you run into body-wise that you described? You're trying to be proactive and not have things become long-term. What, if anything, have you battled because of being 6'8" and change?
Yeah, so I played a lot of sports in middle school. I kind of only stopped playing sports after middle school. But yeah, I played rugby, which is pretty much about as bad as football, if not worse, in terms of physical contact and stuff. So played it, and then I kind of pretty much broke my back, broke 2 vertebrae and cracked one in 7th grade. And then it kind of had the growth spurts just after that. So there's a lot of stuff that my back needed to heal, and me growing so much. It was that mixture was really hard for me, and kind of in high school getting acquainted to my body. So ever since I've been here at Tech, the athletic training staff has been great, helping me out and kind of focusing on the strengths and parts that I need to be strong at because I'm 6'8", and the constant turning towards one side, it takes a toll on your body. So yeah, I guess my back has always been kind of a thing that needs to be emphasized and needs to work on. If I don't, then it kind of it gives me problems sometimes, but it's manageable, and it's something that every athlete, I think, works around.
New season underway, senior year at Georgia Tech for you. Olympia Fields, weather shortened, but 36 holes, good enough for you to win. What did that do for you confidence-wise, coming off a great summer, then a break, realizing if Georgia Tech is going to make a run deep this year in the postseason, you need to play like that more often?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was a little bit rusty. I had a lot of time off, as you guys see. I was at home, not worrying about golf a little bit, and so yeah, I was a little bit rusty and kind of needed to sweat some rust off the first, 3 weeks being back. So it was really nice to kick off where I started in the summer and just play some really good golf again. So I was really pleased with the way I played. I hit the ball really good, and I went about my business really good. So I'm really pleased with how I played, and I think we have 2 new freshmen that are tremendously talented. So kind of just need to show them the ropes and kind of let them figure out what college golf is all about, and they can learn the lessons hopefully faster than or sooner than later. So yeah, I think we have a great team this year again. The depth is there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this year. I really am.
So Christo, you woke up this morning, and I hope you went on the World Amateur Golf Ranking site, because you're now the #1 amateur in the world. You're above Gordon Sargent. You're above Michael Thorbjornsen, David Ford. Just think back to, learning the game and all of the tournaments and the wins and the losses and the injuries. You're now #1 in the world. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's it's not like winning a golf tournament, right? It's not just one tournament. It's kind of I guess it portrays a long stint of golf, and it really is nice to see that long stint of golf is kind of showing off, and it's really all the results combined is showing what I can do, and it really is amazing. It's one of my biggest goals as an amateur was to be #1 before I turn pro somewhere. I guess it's every amateur's dream, but it was really special. I mean, I didn't even look at the rankings this morning. I just got my roommate. When we walked out on the way to workouts this morning, he's like, "Dude, did you check?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "Well, you're #1." I was like, "That's pretty sick." So yeah, it's obviously nice. It's really cool, but for me, that stuff really doesn't matter that much. I think it's obviously nice. It's obviously cool to have some acknowledgement for what you're doing, but in the same sense, it's like I've just got to focus on every day on what I can control and trying to be a little bit better than I was yesterday. And that's kind of been a lot of, I guess, thanks to the success of what I've had recently is having that mentality of just, hey, try to be better tomorrow than I was yesterday, and just focus on the small things, and the big things will take care of themselves like they have been, which is really nice. So yeah, I'm obviously really pleased, but also keeping my head down and doing the work.
See, Brentley, that's validation right there. The great ones don't have to tell you how great they are. They let their roommates look at the wagger in the morning to say, "Hey, buddy, did you see what you have now accomplished? Congratulations on achieving that lifelong goal out of the gates quickly in the fall. Good to spend a little time with you here on College Golf Talk, Christo, to get a better sense of who you are, what you've come from, and what you look forward to doing in the weeks, months, and years ahead. Great to catch up, and we'll see you down the road soon."
Hey, awesome, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, and hopefully see you soon.
And make sure you floss, Christo.
There we go. Make sure I floss, for sure.
Christo Lamprecht, senior at Georgia Tech. Kudos to you, Brentley, again, securing these timely, great players, great interviews to get a chance to really see who they are. You'll see the names, you'll see the scores, the results, but maybe don't get a true understanding of his brother-in-law and sister farm in South Africa, and he described it as a town similar to San Diego. Probably not a bad place to live if you're Christo, and for him to pick
and he
up
played
the
rugby.
win.
Could you imagine that, trying to tackle that?
No. When I stayed at the Irish Open after the Walker Cup in St. Andrews, the World Championship, the World Cup of Rugby was underway. Yeah. So I watched
it was on Peacock as well.
Tried to learn a little and have maybe just an ounce more knowledge of that sport than I did before. Speaking of that rain-shortened event, North Carolina, the Tar Heels, able to get the job done. We're going to sort of rip through some other events that have happened over the last week or so. How about Sahali with Texas, Illinois in the mix, Stanford indifferent, no Thor Bjornsson? What are your takeaways from what happened in the Pacific Northwest?
Well, I think it just shows that it doesn't matter who's on Mike Small's team. He's going to have them ready to go. And so perhaps maybe a little underrated, and nice to get some confidence from that early win. A little worried about Stanford because, as we'll talk about a little bit later, not off to the best start through 2 events. No Michael Thor Bjornsson. Barkley Brown struggled at the Walker Cup, struggled at the USAM. The struggles have seemed to continue a little bit. Carl Phillips is playing well. But it'll be interesting because, again, as we'll also talk about later, there's a new ranking system, and no one knows exactly how it's going to compute. So no one knows what some of these early finishes will do in terms of your regional position, or even if you make regionals come early May. So super early, but I think, anytime you can get a win like Illinois, especially in the fall, like people used to say the fall doesn't matter. If you can rack up a couple wins, I think you might enter the spring already pretty much qualified, and counting on or banking on a top seed for the NCAA regionals.
Vandy, they win early. They rally at the Valero. Joe Sullivan of Florida Gulf Coast winning a playoff. He gets a tour start, so good for him. Good to see the Commodores potentially that back and forth battle with the Tar Heels early on in the season. And then a couple of 2-0 teams that maybe will surprise you or maybe not, considering one of them got on a hot run to end last season, and we thought, was it a one-off or not? But some folks there in Chattanooga figuring things out quickly, aren't they?
Yeah. How about Blaine Woodruff and that squad? I mean, building off a dream season a year ago, they win at Erin Hills. They come back, they win Cincinnati's Bearcat Invitational, and then Belmont, or not Belmont. Belmont was 2-0. They just finished, I think, 4th or 5th in their 3rd event of the fall. But Loyola Marymount, Jason Demore, USF Intercollegiate, they win Golf Week Fall Invitational before that. Again, like, if these mid-majors can get some wins and get some points early, that could go a long way. So, heck of a start. And perhaps Chattanooga maybe a little bit motivated after not being listed in the top 30 of one's preseason rankings.
Well, maybe you should have done a little more research and put them in the top 30. Michael Brennan leads Wake Forest, a co-win with Missouri, and over Virginia and Duke at the Highlands Invitational. They went extremely low there, so a good start for the Demon Deacons. And then how about Washington blowing out the field to pick up a win, their home event, and Oklahoma 26 shots behind those Huskies. Early concerns or just trying to fine-tune it if you're Coach Hibble?
Yeah, I think it's more just fine-tuning. I think there's a lot of things that are positive that you can look at. The fact that Luke Kluver went from last year in his first year transferring from Kansas, not really being a factor, to it seems like he's their best player right now. Andrew Goodman bounced back. He played as an individual in this event. And anytime, Washington can play in the Pacific Northwest, play at home, a little bit different golf course than maybe a team like Oklahoma is used to. I think that's got to factor in. So if I'm Oklahoma, I think you're right where you need to be this early in the season.
Pivot to the women. The Annika finished up last week. South Carolina, really good win over Oregon and Wake. You had 4 players tying for individual medalist honors. And what I'm intrigued about when you look at Southern Cal, Amari Avery right out of the gates with a win, a big victory by the Trojans. They're good. We saw the run they made deep into the championships last year. I think they go, and it's no knock on the rest of the team, they go as Amari Avery goes. I think if she can show what she did as a freshman when she started in the spring 18 months ago, I look at Rozang and Stanford. Now, granted, they didn't win it last year. When you have someone that you know can go out and break par virtually every time, I think that frees up number 2 through 5 in any lineup in the country.
Yeah, and the thing with Amari and the reason why I think you saw a little bit of a slump this spring, the last 6-7 months or so, is because she's had to dial in 14 new clubs and a ball, and sometimes that takes a little bit longer, and especially when you rely on your ball striking as much as she does. I mean, there were times, frankly, during their run to the NCAA final match against Wake, like there were times where it looked like she was one of the worst players in that, in the 5 matches going on. So good to see her bounce back. I think USC is going to be strong again. They're 1-0. Stanford's 1-0. It's all the same players. However, I'll throw maybe a question back at you, Burko. Are USC, Stanford, are they trying to dodge some of these teams early? I mean, they didn't play the Annika. You got all the heavy hitters, playing up there in Minnesota, getting it done, maybe getting punched in the mouth early. Or is USC trying to dodge, is Justin and them trying to dodge some teams early?
No, I wouldn't think so. You got Stanford and other schools that are on the quarter system. If you're Ann Walker or Justin Silverstein, you know how to schedule accordingly. And as you said, the fall, still important. Those are programs that don't need to bank early wins. There's always the prospects of losing players to the World Amateur Team Championship if you were coming off a Curtis Cup, which will be next year. Now, get back to me on October 20th, not September 20th.
Hey, maybe
with any concern there.
Maybe they've figured out this new ranking system. Maybe it pays not to play a ton before that first ranking on October 15th.
Yeah, we will get to that momentarily. Purdue, a nice 10-shot win over Michigan State at the Mary Fossum in East Lansing. Spartans, Katie Liu, the medalist there. So again, we're off and running. We're now starting to see tournaments pop up all around the country, and for the most part, the best teams in the nation easing into that new season. But let's circle back to our final topic. You wrote a great article you can see on our website about Spikemark. If you're new to it, you've been at college golf covering it for the better part of a decade. I'm nearing a quarter of a century doing it. Everyone under the sun goes to GolfStat. That's where GolfStat has scores, rankings, etc. But things changed in the spring into the summer of Spikemark now taking over for GolfStat, for lack of a better term. The problem is when the new season got going a couple of weeks ago, Spikemark wasn't ready to answer the bell. And to this point, it still hasn't answered the bell. And all I'm going to say, you did the great reporting. You can go deep here. Kudos to GolfStat, who basically folded up shop saying, we're here, because it's been there for the better part of 30 plus years. In 90 seconds or so, give us the teaser and promote your article if people want to learn more.
Yeah, so I think it's important to start off that this is the NCAA contract. So essentially, they contract out what has been GolfStat for the last 30 or so years to run a ranking, which involves making sure that you have 100% or 99.9% of tournaments to be able to run an accurate ranking so that they can select regional fields. And 2, to do live scoring just for the NCAA championship. So regionals, NCAA championship, in all 3 divisions as well. So
And let me
Spikemark-
quickly jump in there. For most people listening, they know all these other events throughout the course of the year are not NCAA events.
Correct.
When it comes to the NCAA, as you said, it's regionals and championships. It's basically a 5-week window, if you will. They all count to those rankings, but as you alluded to, that contract, that ownership of a two-way street. Sorry, I just wanted to sort of clear that up.
Yeah.
But yeah, Spikemark was front and center. They were ready to take charge. Wonderful presentation. And then the dreaded cyber attack, among other things.
Well, yeah. And also going back to just the other tournaments with GolfStat, you had 95% of hosts for college tournaments during the regular season using their live scoring system. And as we've seen with GolfStat now, essentially closing up shop before coming back to do just live scoring, having the NCAA contract is a big deal. And Spikemark got it. Derek Freeman, the CEO, founder of Spikemark, was the former UCLA coach who was on the NCAA golf committee from 2018 to 2022 when he retired to go into winemaking, and then, as we've come to find out, to create Spikemark. And as you said, great presentation, a lot of bells and whistles, promising a ranking that, as he says, should be more transparent, done by Mark Brody, more of a points-based system compared to GolfStat or Golf Week, which is a lot of stroke differential, head-to-heads. Had all this idea, but when you go to press the button and the first tee gets put in the ground on August 31st, everything crashes. There's a cyber attack. There's all sorts of different things. And frankly, the live scoring still doesn't work. I talked to Derek Freeman last week. He said that, hopefully as soon as possible, hopefully by the end of the spring, maybe that part could be up. He said definitely by the time we get to any sort of championships. But the big thing, Burko, and I won't reveal too much because I want people to go read it for themselves. But the big thing is the ranking. And right now, Spikemark is scrambling to try to get all of these results because teams are using Golf Genius, Birdie Fire, Blue Golf, GolfStat to do their live scoring. It is a huge task to get all this data loaded in to do an accurate ranking. And then there's the debate on, is the ranking actually going to be good or not? So there's so many things going on. Coaches are upset. A lot of them think that, this has ruined college golf. If anything, it's definitely disrupted it. And there's a lot of rumors swirling around. I think it boils down to this, and I'll close with this kind of summation of what I think happened is Derek is on the committee. He fields complaints about GolfStat rankings. Coaches are in his ear. He wants to be the guy to fix it. And he had good intentions, but he didn't know what he didn't know. And GolfStat was time-tested over 3 decades. Every year, GolfStat was adding something or tweaking something to live scoring or their offerings to coaches and tournaments. You just can't become an expert overnight. And I think Derek got to a point where, he knew it wasn't ready, but by then you have the contract, you have to do something. And right now he's working overtime trying to fix it. And I think a lot of coaches are kind of doubtful that it could actually be done. But I think it's one of those things where, it's been 3 weeks, but it's only been 3 weeks. And I think we got to give Spikemark time at this point for the better of college golf to try to figure it out. And then 6 months, a year down the line, if we haven't made any progress or any significant progress, then I think it's time to really, take off that casing and really hit that red alarm button.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts. Head to the website, golfchannel.com, or is it NBCsports.com now? I want to clarify that.
It will go to the same spot no matter what you type in. So golfchannel.com or NBCsports.com/golf or X or Twitter, however much longer we can use that for free, at Brentley GC. Also follow Burko. What's your Twitter handle these days?
Burkowski GC. First initial, last name GC. at whatever you said, X, Twitter. You've got the story. Go follow you. It's certainly worth the read. And truly, for all of us that love the game, let's hope it gets resolved sooner rather than later. Because if you get to next April without a solution, then I think there are major problems of, well, how do we know which team is 64 or 71 on that proverbial bubble to earn a regional spot? So honestly, I hope they figure it out soon, very soon. We'll wrap it there. Our thanks to Christo Lamprecht, the senior All-America selection from Georgia Tech, for joining us. And we're off and running. I feel like we're now getting our feet underneath us in this fall campaign. We will do it again next week. For Brentley, I'm Burko. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's edition of College Golf Talk. We'll do it again next week.